Can I just say my insides are on fire? Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Cynthia if you're new here. Kind of wanted to do things a little bit differently, so I finally got my hand on a copy of Powerless by Lauren Roberts, and it's been a journey getting to this point so here's a little backstory. In November of 2023, I put my hold in on Libby. My loan came through after Christmas, and then after New Year's, I hit a reading slump, so I wasn't reading at all. I pretty much returned all my book loans and was like, I need a break from reading. This isn't happening. So I returned the book, put a new hold in, and I got my copy a couple of days ago. And so even though I got about 10% into the book the first time, I am now about 75% into this book, and I have thoughts. I just want to talk about it. So I figured, why not vlog it? Why not bring you in on it? I don't know. I feel like I'm being weird right now. I do feel kind of weird because I'm in bed and it's like 9:30 at night. So just for a little bit of backstory, in Powerless by Lauren Roberts, we focus on our main character, Peyton, or Pay, who lives in the slums with her bestie, BFF, Best Girl Friday, Adina. She steals and Adina sells what she can sew with what Pay has stolen. So Pay steals food and coins and pretty much keeps them alive, and Adina is a seamstress. So whenever Pay can get scraps of fabric, she gives it to Adina, and Adina will create something out of it, and then in the street market try to sell the things she has sewn. And it is in the very slums where we meet our Prince Charming, our charming, mysterious, and morally gray Prince Kai. Pei steals from Kai and then unwittingly saves his life. By doing so, gets herself thrown into the purging trials. This is kind of where I start to have issues with this book. The purging trials are a weird version of the Hunger Games, and I wanted to go into this book without thinking of the Hunger Games because, to me, the Hunger Games was a huge thing when I was a teenager. The books, the movies, all blew up during my teenage years. So this book being so heavily, I guess, influenced by the Hunger Games definitely makes me a little biased. I'm just gonna say that up front. But essentially, the purging trials feel a lot like a weird version of the Hunger Games. So there are 3 tiers of people, I guess you could say, in this society. There are the elites on top. These are people who have all sorts of powers. They're very powerful. They have powers. Then you have the mundanes. These are kind of like the middle class. These are people who are like psychics. They have abilities, they don't have powers. And then you have the ordinaries who have nothing. They're just regular everyday people, and the king has decided that these people are unfit to live in his kingdom, and so he uses his enforcer, aka Prince Kai, to dispose of them. So far there's a lot of buildup to the trials, and each trial has a ball before it, which just seems really cringy to me. I don't know. Even taking the Hunger Games aspects out of it, I don't like that. It just feels very callous, but I'm assuming that's the point. So I've gotten through 2 trials, and they're about to head into the 3rd, which I believe is the final trial. The first trial was very Hunger Games-esque, but it was also very lackluster because all of the characters were so far apart. So there wasn't really any big interactions, and Kai and Pei, all they do is flirt, not flirt with each other, and it's not going anywhere. And I'm getting kind of bored. Do something, or don't do something, just something. And then after the first trial, they are in the castle for a week. So the way it's laid out, from my understanding, is that there's a ball, the trial is a week, and then whoever survives the trial lives a week in the castle, then there's a ball, and then another trial. It's very weird. I don't understand why they do a trial and then go back to the castle. My brain just doesn't understand. And on top of all this, there's kind of this weird love triangle developing between Kai, Pei, and Kai's brother Kit, who is the future king. And Kit is the very opposite of Kai, where Kai is the future enforcer. He's very tough. He describes himself as a monster. He does a lot of killing. He's very violent. Kit is very noble and do-goody. He's, a goody two-shoes who wants to do the right thing, who really listens to the king and trusts him and doesn't really know what's really going on outside the castle because he's never gone outside the castle. And it's just like, I get it, like, morally gray brother, naive brother, they're both hot, like, I get it, but like, girl, we all know it's Kai. Also, I'm not a fan of love triangles, so I will also say something within the plot that really rubbed me the wrong way was the introduction of the resistance, because it comes out of nowhere. So Pei's father is supposedly one of the early leaders of the resistance, yet she never knew. And then despite this like close-knit network of resistance members, her father is killed and no one knows. No one goes to get her. No one looks for her. Callum, when he's talking to Pei about when they found out her father died and they couldn't find her, it was like, really? You couldn't just look a little harder? I can't imagine the slums are that big and it would be that hard to spot someone, especially someone who has silver hair, mind you. Pei has silver hair. It's not like she's some general bland looking everyday average character. She has silver hair. That's kind of a statement. And then as if that wasn't enough, Pei is just like, I'm in, tell me what to do, put me to work, boss. And it's just, I don't know, you wouldn't question it a little more? You wouldn't be like, so how convenient that you couldn't find me then, so I had to find you, and now how convenient that you can use me because I'm in the trials? I don't know. It just, there are a lot of things in this book that feel way, way, way too convenient. But anyways, that's where I am so far. Like I said, I'm about 75% into the book. There are a lot of things that I like and a lot of things I don't like. I really like the tension between Kai and Pei, but I would really like it to go somewhere. Like, are they just gonna flirt the whole book? Or I don't really like the whole Kit situation because I have a feeling that her developing relationship with Kit is more so that she can gain his trust in order to betray him for the resistance, which I really don't like because I feel like Kit is a character who doesn't deserve that. He feels very much just like a pawn, and I don't know, it makes me feel bad for him. As a character. But yeah, I'm gonna read a little bit more tonight before bed, and then I'm hoping to finish the book tomorrow morning just so that I can move on because I am very ready to move on. The writing in this book isn't the best. It's not bad, but I feel like it could be better, and I'm not really a fan of the writing, so I'm very ready to finish this book and move on to the next book. So that's that so far. Hi, good morning. It is now the next day. I quickly wanted to go over what I read last night because I read about another 15%. No, my math is wrong. I read 10%. 75 to 85 is 10. Can I just say my insides are like on fire. I have never wanted two characters to kiss so badly. Like, the tension is just way too drawn out for my liking, if I'm being honest, and I just feel like they should be making out at 85% in the book, and they haven't even kissed yet. They came really, really close, but they got interrupted, and I am mad. I am mad about it. I'm very mad. So I decided to put the book down and go to bed because I needed to get some sleep. And I'm trying not to ruin my sleep schedule on the weekends just because I can stay up later. And I will say, there's a lot early on that I didn't understand when it came to Pei's hesitation to be, I don't want to say intimate with Kai or Kit, but more just like affectionate, I suppose. But it does kind of make sense to me now because she's technically an ordinary. Kai's whole upbringing has been to kill ordinaries, and I get where she's coming from, but I also hate it because, I don't know, Pei is this character who, there's like two sides of her. On the one hand, she's very proud to be an ordinary, she wants to protect her people, and then on the other hand, she wants to be with Kai and be this mundane and live this kind of like lie, I guess. And I don't know if maybe I'm reading into it a little too much. I have a feeling that the end of this book is just going to destroy me. So, and like I said, I'm about 85% into the book at this point. The third trial is right about to start. Let's just get into it. Let's just ruin my morning. It's fine. Okay, so I was wrong. Kai didn't find Pei in the middle of the circle. Consider me surprised. Okay, so I definitely needed a minute to just kind of digest my thoughts about this book. There was also an extra chapter at the end, which is a flashback of Kai's first mission, which was killing Pei's father. And then there was another chapter from Pei's point of view from Reckless, which comes out, I believe, in July of 2024. I believe July 2nd. Don't quote me on that because I'm not entirely sure. I did jot down my thoughts, and this whole video is riddled with spoilers. So if you've made it to this point without feeling like super spoiled, there will be spoilers ahead. So if you don't want the ending of the book ruined and things like that, I would click off now. If you're still here, leave. We're gonna watch time go out the window with this video. Before I start anything, why Adina? Like, that broke my heart. And I know I say why Adina, but I know why Adina. It was to get to Pei, but just like them breaking her fingers, like Pei pointing out that they broke her fingers, just like something cracked inside of me. It was just so sad. I was just like, of all the characters who did not deserve this, Dina. Also, I love how Blair technically won the trials, but because of all the chaos, like, ain't no one give a fuck. Like, what a slap to Blair. Like, just, I love it. All right, anyways, back on track. The banter was very steady throughout this book, and I found that I really enjoyed it. But Kai and Pei don't even kiss. And I know this is YA. I'm not asking for smut. Like, I'm not asking for ACOTAR level, like, spicy scenes. But what bothered me was that it was just continual teasing the whole book. And, like, I just wanted something. I wanted something other than spooning and flirting and teasing, and I really wanted it to progress a lot further than it did. I kind of just wanted more. Like, the banter was great, don't get me wrong, but I wanted more outside of banter and flirtatious touching. The trials were also severely lacking, as was the world building, and I think that was because this book has so many romanticy tropes. Touch her, you die. Who did this to you? The banter, you know, I'm gonna stab you, the dagger to the neck, like so many more romanticy tropes in this book. I am a big fan of romanticy tropes, so this is more of a personal preference, and it wasn't something that bothered me, but I will say, I think the tropes were a little too much. And I say that because, like I said, the world building was severely lacking. Nothing really made sense. I don't know, are they kingdoms? Like, I think Ilya? I don't know how to pronounce it, but I believe is a kingdom, and there are surrounding territories. So I kind of wish that world building had made a little more sense, but more than that, the trials, like, I hated comparing this book to The Hunger Games because it's just not fair. The Hunger Games is a completed series. The Hunger Games has movies. The Hunger Games, when I was a teenager, had almost a cult following. So it's really not fair to Lauren Roberts to compare Powerless to The Hunger Games, but there were so many similarities, especially the first trial. Like, I just couldn't get over it. But what I found so weird about the trials is that they're called the Purging Trials, and yet I believe there's only 10 or 12 contestants. This is a detail from the very beginning of the book, so not thinking about that, but there aren't a lot of contestants, and a lot of the contestants are elites, and it's weird because the king wants this like perfect elite society, but then he puts two of his own children and his niece into the trials. Like it make it make sense. It didn't make sense to me. Why these ordinaries and mundanes, why aren't you putting them in the trials? Why aren't you making them earn their keep? Or, so to speak, why aren't you making them earn their place in your perfect society? I just thought it was very weird, and I could go on and on and on, but the trials didn't really make sense. There wasn't a lot of world building, and I do think that a lot of that is because the author relied a lot more on the tropes versus other aspects of the plot. And like I mentioned, there are 3 tiers of people within this immediate society. So on the bottom, you have the ordinaries that make up most of the resistance. In the middle, you have the mundanes, which is what Pei is pretending to be. So, like psychics, some ability, but not a power. And then you have the elites on top that have full blown powers. And the king is on a mission to rid his kingdom of ordinaries. He spreads lies that the ordinaries are full of disease, and despite them coming out of the plague alongside the elites and the mundanes, they aren't worthy. And also, the plague just got like lost in translation. Oh, plagues like was a big saying in this book, and the plague is mentioned, I believe, in the summary of the book and at the beginning of the book, and then it's never mentioned again. Another aspect of this book that I wasn't really a fan of was the resistance, because it felt so half-baked. Like, the resistance is introduced nearly halfway through the book. Pei just takes everything they say at face value, doesn't question them, doesn't think they could be lying to her. Like, these people claim to be so close to your father, and yet when he was killed, no one found you. No one could look for you in loot, but they were more than happy to keep using your house as headquarters. Like, it's just little things like that, like little details like that, that just in the bigger scheme of things of this book just absolutely did not make sense and just irritated me to no end, because it's just little details that stuck out so much to me. But back to my original point with the resistance, is the resistance over? Is it gone? Are they wiped out? Because I was a little confused, when Pei first meets Callum, who's kind of like the one of the bigger heads in the resistance. He tells her that when she was younger and her father was still alive, they were very, very small, but they've grown in size over the years, and so they have lots of like clusters and networks, so to speak. But it doesn't really make sense. But anyway, aside from a bunch of little things that really didn't make sense, I am excited to see where the next book in the series is gonna go, because this is a trilogy, so there are a lot of different directions I think Lauren Roberts could take with this. I'm also very excited to see more of like the character development and world building in the next book, especially with Kit, who his whole world has just been turned upside down, flipped inside out. I'm very excited to see what happens with Kit. A solid 4-star read out of 5 stars. I would recommend it if you like The Hunger Games, if you like a lot of the more popular romantasy tropes, but otherwise I think you can sit this one out if that's not your thing. But yeah, those are about all the thoughts I have on this one. If you've read this one, I'd love to hear your thoughts as well. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!